First Contact's Deception. The Galactic Confederation's flagship, Eternal Dawn, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull gleaming under the distant sun. Supreme Commander Zaxthor stood on the bridge, his iridescent scales shifting colors as he observed the seemingly primitive human vessels approaching for their first official contact. The humans had discovered faster-than-light travel barely a decade ago, and their ships looked appropriately crude to Confederation eyes, all harsh angles and utilitarian design. Ambassador Sarah Chen watched the alien vessel through the viewscreen of her own ship, the Pacific Venture, maintaining a carefully crafted expression of awe and deference. "They're magnificent, aren't they?" she whispered to her aide, Major David Roberts, loud enough for the communication link to pick up her words. The Confederation's surveillance systems were undoubtedly recording every moment of this historic meeting. Roberts nodded, playing his part perfectly. "Unlike anything we've ever seen, Ambassador." Behind her mask of diplomatic humility, Chen smiled inwardly. The Confederation had no idea that Earth's apparent technological backwardness was an elaborate deception, years in the making. They didn't know about the quantum computing centers hidden in Earth's asteroid belt, or the antimatter production facilities buried beneath the lunar surface. Supreme Commander Zaxthor's voice boomed through the communication channels, translated into perfect English by the Confederation's eye. "Welcome, children of Earth, to the greater galactic community. We have watched your species' development with great interest." Chen bowed slightly, the picture of gratitude and submission. "Supreme Commander, we are honored by your presence. Humanity stands ready to learn from your wisdom." The massive alien vessel dwarfed the human ships, its weapon ports clearly visible but deliberately powered down, a show of benevolent superiority. Zaxthor's secondary heart swelled with pride at the humans' appropriate display of reverence. Another species would soon join the Confederation, accepting their rightful place in the hierarchy. "Your species has shown remarkable progress," Zaxthor continued. "The Confederation offers guidance to developing civilizations such as yours. We can help you avoid the mistakes that have plagued so many young races." What the Supreme Commander didn't know was that every word, every gesture, every energy reading from his ship was being analyzed by quantum computers far more advanced than anything the Confederation possessed. Humanity had spent years studying the alien alliance from afar, learning their weaknesses, understanding their prejudices. The Confederation's greatest flaw was their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They never questioned why humanity's development had seemingly plateaued at such a convenient level, advanced enough to be useful, but not enough to be threatening. Chen maintained her diplomatic smile. "We would be grateful for any knowledge you're willing to share, Supreme Commander. Earth's people understand that we have much to learn about our place in the galaxy." As the formal greetings continued, Major Roberts discreetly activated a quantum-encrypted channel to Earth Defense Command. The message was simple: first contact proceeding as planned. They suspect nothing. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility whose existence was unknown to the Confederation, General Helena Martinez received the message and nodded in satisfaction. Humanity's greatest deception was proceeding exactly as planned. The Confederation would never know the truth until it was too late. The primitive human ships continued their careful dance with the Eternal Dawn, their crews maintaining perfect discipline despite the condescension evident in every Confederation transmission. They had trained for years for this moment, learning to swallow their pride, to play the role of the grateful primitive species eager to be uplifted. As Chen prepared to board the Confederation vessel for initial diplomatic discussions, she thought about the billions of humans back on Earth counting on her performance. Their apparent submission today would buy them the time they needed to implement the final phases of their plan. The Confederation believed they were welcoming another obedient species into their hierarchy. They didn't realize they were dealing with a civilization that had spent decades preparing for this very moment. Humanity had learned from studying other species' first contact experiences. They knew that showing their true capabilities would only lead to immediate conflict. Instead, they would play the long game, They would learn the Confederation's secrets, map their weaknesses, and prepare for the day when humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy. The deception had begun, and with it, the countdown to a revolution that would reshape galactic society forever. Supreme Commander Zax Thor watched with satisfaction as the human ambassador's shuttle approached his ship. Soon, Earth would take its proper place in the Confederation's carefully ordered hierarchy. The thought pleased all four of his hearts. He had no way of knowing that this moment would later be marked in history as the beginning of the Confederation's end. The art of diplomacy. 6 months into diplomatic relations with the Confederation, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber on New Arcturus. Her ceremonial robes deliberately modest compared to the ornate attire of the alien representatives. The chamber's crystalline walls soared hundreds of meters overhead, designed to make lesser species feel small and insignificant. The council's first speaker, a towering arthropodoid named Vextal, leaned forward on his gravity throne. The Confederation has reviewed Earth's petition for increased technological assistance. We find your progress satisfactory. Chen bowed deeply, suppressing a smile. Every meeting like this was another piece of an elaborate puzzle. While she played the role of grateful supplicant, automated quantum systems, hidden in her ceremonial jewelry, analyzed the chamber's security protocols, mapped its power systems, and recorded every detail of the council members' behavioral patterns. We are honored by your consideration, Chen replied. Earth's people understand that such knowledge must be earned through loyal service. The council members chittered in approval. Humans were proving to be such an agreeable species, so unlike the troublesome Proxians who had needed to be forcibly pacified a century ago. What they didn't know was that Earth's apparent technological requests were carefully calculated. Each piece of advanced technology the Confederation shared revealed more about their own capabilities and limitations. Every security protocol they insisted humans adopt contained vulnerabilities that Earth's quantum AI systems had already learned to exploit. The first speaker gestured magnanimously. We are particularly pleased with your species' acceptance of Confederation oversight in your military development. Such wisdom in one so young is commendable. Chen thought of the massive shipyards hidden in the Oort cloud, where humanity's real fleet was taking shape. The vessels they showed the Confederation were practically museum pieces compared to what they were actually building. We understand our place in the greater order, Chen said, her voice humble. Though, if I may, there is one matter of concern. Some of our merchants have reported encounters with pirates in the Carina sector, perhaps increased Confederation patrols. It was a calculated request. The Carina sector was where Earth intelligence had detected unusual energy signatures, suggesting a hidden Confederation military installation. By asking for increased patrols, they could study the Confederation's response patterns. The council members exchanged glances. Second Speaker Katal, a serpentine being of living crystal, spoke up. The Carina sector is complicated. Perhaps your merchants should focus on established trade routes for now. Chen noted the subtle tension in the chamber. Another piece of intelligence confirmed. Of course, second speaker, we defer to your wisdom. Later, in her private quarters aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Unity, Chen reviewed the day's findings with her team. Major Roberts, now Colonel Roberts, analyzed the quantum data streams from her surveillance devices. They're definitely hiding something big in Carina, Roberts said. The energy signatures match our theoretical models for their new battle cruiser designs. But there's something else. He frowned at the readings. The power fluctuations suggest they're having stability issues. Chen nodded. Add it to the briefing for Earth Defense Command. Every weakness we identified is another advantage when the time comes. The Council still believes we're at least a century away from developing anything that could challenge them, Roberts added. Their own prejudices blind them. They can't imagine that a primitive species could advance so quickly. Chen walked to the viewport, watching ships come and go from the Confederation's capital world. That's always been their weakness. They're so convinced of their superiority that they see what they expect to see. when we show them our true face." She left the sentence unfinished. Both of them knew what was coming. Earth's hidden fleets grew stronger every day. The quantum computers were constantly analyzing Confederation technology, finding weaknesses, developing countermeasures. Most importantly, they were making contact with other species who chafed under Confederation rule. A message arrived via quantum-encrypted channels. Operation Bright Dawn proceeding on schedule. Proxian resistance leaders confirmed support, awaiting final authorization. Chen sent a single word in reply: soon. The next day, she returned to the council chamber, playing her role perfectly. She accepted their condescension with apparent gratitude, asked appropriately modest questions, and continued to build their confidence in humanity's submission. The Confederation continued to believe they were masterfully managing the integration of another primitive species into their hierarchy. They didn't realize that every concession they offered, every technology they shared, every secret they thought they were keeping was bringing them one step closer to their own downfall. In the shadows of the galaxy, humanity's true power grew. The day of revelation approached, and when it came, the Confederation would learn too late that they had never been the teachers they thought they were. They had been the unknowing students all along. Operation Shadow Strike. The quantum alert came at exactly 3:00 Earth Standard Time. SHADOWFALLINITIA. In her quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Unity, Ambassador Chen removed her ceremonial robes for the last time. Underneath, she wore the black uniform of Earth Defense Command, Admiral's insignia gleaming on her collar. After 5 years of playing the humble diplomat, it was finally time to show the Confederation humanity's true face. Across Confederation space, carefully planted quantum beacons activated simultaneously. Hidden shipyards in the Orc cloud powered up, releasing vessels that had never appeared in any official registry. Earth's real fleet emerged from its long hibernation, ships whose very existence rewrote the rules of what the Confederation thought possible. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Unity as its diplomatic facade dissolved, quantum metamaterials revealing the vessel's true form. Not the modest courier ship the Confederation had registered, but a command destroyer bristling with weapons that shouldn't have been possible for centuries by their estimates. "All ships report ready," Admiral Colonel Roberts announced from his tactical station. "The Proxian resistance forces are in position. Quantum disruption fields are active across all target systems." Chen nodded, her diplomatic mask finally discarded. "Initiate Phase 1. Across the galaxy, carefully orchestrated chaos erupted. The Confederation's vaunted defense networks suddenly found themselves fighting phantom targets as Earth's quantum AI systems rewrote their reality. Communication networks that had been secretly compromised for years began broadcasting evidence of the Council's corruption to every species under their control. In the Carina sector, the hidden shipyards Chen had spent months investigating went dark as sabotage packages planted by supposedly primitive human merchants activated. The Confederation's next-generation battlecruisers died in their berths, victims of their own security systems. First Speaker Vextal was in his private chambers when the alarms began. His guards rushed in, mandibles clicking in agitation. "The humans," one reported, "they're everywhere." "But that's impossible. Their ships shouldn't be capable." "Contact the defense fleet," Vextal ordered. "This must be some kind of trick. An illusion." But it wasn't an illusion. As he watched in horror, quantum-encrypted displays showed human vessels appearing throughout Confederation space, wielding technologies that should have been centuries beyond their capability. Worse, ships from other species, ones the Confederation had fought safely subjugated, were rising up alongside them. In the Proxian home system, the same race the Confederation had pacified. A century ago, former slaves were overthrowing their overseers with weapons and shields provided by Earth. The carefully maintained hierarchy was collapsing, and with it, the Confederation's grip on power. Admiral Chen's voice echoed through every communication channel in Confederation space, transmitted through networks they had thought secure. For 5 years, we played the role you expected of us. We bowed our heads, accepted your condescension, and let you believe we were just another primitive species to be uplifted into servitude. That deception ends today. On New Arcturus, the Confederation's capital world, quantum bombs hidden in diplomatic gifts years ago deactivated the planetary defense grid. Earth's primitive ships revealed their true forms, quantum metamaterials dissolving to show weapons that made the Confederation's best technology look obsolete. You never questioned why we advanced so conveniently slowly, Chen continued, her voice cold. You never wondered why we accepted your limitations so easily. Your greatest weakness wasn't your technology. It was your absolute certainty in your own superiority. The Confederation's mighty defense fleet found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to predict their every move. Every strategy they attempted had already been analyzed and countered by Earth's quantum AI systems. Every secret weapon they deployed had been studied and defeated before it was even activated. In the council chamber, Second Speaker K'tal watched in disbelief as human forces systematically dismantled the defenses of New Arcturus. How? He whispered. How could they have hidden this from us? The answer was simple, though it would take the Confederation years to fully understand it. Humanity had never been the primitive species they appeared to be. Every diplomatic meeting, every technology exchange, every seemingly innocent request for aid had been part of an elaborate intelligence operation. The humans hadn't needed to steal Confederation technology. They had already surpassed it. What they had needed was to understand the Confederation itself, its weaknesses, its blind spots, its points of vulnerability. And the Confederation, convinced of its own superiority, had shown them everything. As the first wave of Earth's strike force approached New Arcturus, Admiral Chen sent one final message to the Council. You thought you were uplifting us. In reality, we were studying you. And now, the true balance of power will be revealed. The Confederation's age of dominion was ending. In its place, a new order would arise, one built on equality rather than hierarchy, cooperation rather than subjugation. The revolution had begun, and there was nothing the Council could do to stop it. Breaking the chains. 3 weeks after Operation Shadow Strike began, the Proxian homeworld celebrated its first taste of freedom in a century. Admiral Chen stood on the surface of the crystal desert planet, watching as former slaves tore down the monuments to Confederation rule. Above them, Earth ships maintained a protective screen, while Proxian engineers reactivated planetary defense systems that had been dormant for generations. The Confederation never imagined we would rise again, said Kexixi, leader of the Proxian resistance. His crystalline form shimmered with colors that human sensors had identified as joy. They thought they had broken us completely. Chen watched as Proxian children played freely in the streets for the first time in their lives. That was their mistake. They never understood that oppression doesn't break people, it teaches them patience. Reports streamed in from across former Confederation space. The Durathi, the Confederation's worker class, had seized control of the shipyards where they had labored for centuries. The Myriad consciousness, an entire species relegated to data processing, had turned the Confederation's own networks against them. Every subjugated species had its own story, its own wounds to heal. Earth's quantum AIs had identified them all, made contact through hidden channels, and coordinated the simultaneous uprising that was now reshaping the galaxy. On the bridge of the Unity, Colonel Roberts presented the latest tactical update. The Confederation fleet is in full retreat from the Carina sector. Their remaining capital ships are trying to regroup at Fortress Delta. But we already control their command protocols, Chen finished. During the years of supposed diplomatic relations, Earth's agents had buried quantum infiltrators deep in every major Confederation system. Now those hidden programs were activating, turning the oppressor's own weapons against them. A quantum alert flashed. Deep in Confederation space, another slave species had broken free. The etheric nomads, beings of pure energy who had been forced to power Confederation cities, had escaped their containment fields. Their liberation cast entire worlds into darkness, but the darkness meant freedom. First Speaker Vextol's voice cut through the command channel, no longer proud but desperate. "Please, we surrender. We will give you anything you want. Just stop this chaos." Chen's response was cold. "This isn't chaos, First Speaker. This is justice." On 1,000 worlds, chains were breaking. Species that had been forced into rigid hierarchies for generations were remembering what it meant to stand tall. Earth ships appeared wherever resistance faltered, providing support, supplies, and hope. But it wasn't just military might that was reshaping the galaxy. Earth's quantum AIs were broadcasting the truth to every corner of Confederation space. The true history of their empire, the lies they had used to maintain control, the potential they had stolen from countless species. In the Hiraxian system, Chen watched as a species of silicon-based philosophers, long forced to serve as manual laborers, reclaimed their ancient libraries. On Novus Prime, the winged Arathi soared freely for the first time in generations, their wings no longer clipped by Confederation decree. "We're receiving a priority message from Earth Command," Roberts reported. "The Council is requesting formal surrender talks." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Tell them we'll meet in the Grand Chamber. It seems appropriate to end this where it began." The Unity's quantum drives engaged, carrying them back to New Arcturus. The Confederation's capital world was transformed, its streets filled not with cowering servants, but with beings of all species standing proud and free. In orbit, the remains of the Confederation's once mighty defense fleet hung silent and powerless. Earth ships maintained position alongside vessels from a dozen liberated species, their combined presence a testament to the new alliance that was forming. As Chen prepared to meet the Council one final time, she reflected on the long path that had led to this moment. Humanity had hidden its true nature not out of fear, but out of determination to do more than simply defeat the Confederation. They had waited, planned, and struck precisely when they could free not just themselves, but all who had suffered under Confederation rule. The revolution wasn't just about replacing one power with another. It was about breaking the very concept of enforced hierarchy that had dominated galactic society for so long. In its place would rise something new, an alliance of equals, where every species could reach its full potential. The chains were breaking, and in their place, bridges were being built. A new dawn. The Grand Chamber of New Arcturus looked very different from the day humanity had first been presented to the Council. Gone were the towering thrones that had once elevated the Confederation leaders above their lessers. In their place stood a circular platform where representatives of all species could meet as equals. Admiral Chen, now General Chen, stood before the assembled delegates of the newly formed Galactic Concordat. Former council members sat alongside the leaders of liberated species, their once ornate robes replaced by simple diplomatic attire. The hierarchy that had defined galactic society for millennia had been dismantled in a matter of months. "The last Confederation holdouts have surrendered," Chen announced to the assembly. "The military phase of our operation is complete. Now comes the harder task, building something better from the ashes." Former First Speaker Vextol, now simply the arthropodoid representative, raised his appendage. His once proud mandibles clicked softly as he spoke. "I must ask, why did you wait? If humanity possessed such power all along, why endure our condescension?" Chen's response echoed through the chamber. "Because victory alone wasn't enough. We needed to understand the system that had oppressed so many for so long. We needed to ensure that when we struck, we could free everyone, not just ourselves." The Proxian representative's crystalline form shimmered with approval. "And in doing so, you gave us all a chance to reclaim our dignity, not as a gift from new masters, but as partners in our own liberation." Reports continued to stream in from across the galaxy. The Durathi were rebuilding their ancient cities, incorporating art into engineering in ways the Confederation had forbidden. The Myriad consciousness was helping establish new quantum communication networks, their digital insights now freely shared rather than exploited. On countless worlds, species were rediscovering their heritage, their potential, their dreams. The rigid categories that had defined them under Confederation rule, worker, soldier, servant, were dissolving, replaced by the freedom to choose their own paths. There will be challenges ahead, Chen continued. Centuries of oppression leave deep scars. Some will be tempted to seek revenge, others to recreate the hierarchy with themselves at the top. Our task is to build something entirely new. The etheric nomad delegate pulsed with agreement, their energy form creating patterns of light in the chamber. Already, we see the benefits of cooperation. My people power cities not through coercion, but choice. The Heraxian philosophers share insights with human quantum physicists. The Arathi help establish new trade routes through their mastery of atmospheric flight. Chen activated a holographic display showing the galaxy, not divided into Confederation territories, but alive with the free movement of peoples and ideas. This is what we fought for. Not to replace one empire with another, but to create a galaxy where every species can reach its full potential. The former second speaker, K'tal, his crystalline form dimmed by humility, spoke quietly. We thought we were the pinnacle of evolution, destined to rule. How blind we were. In months, we have seen advances that our rigid hierarchy would have prevented for centuries. Because true strength, Chen replied, comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Not from enforcing limits, but from breaking them. The Unity hung in orbit above New Arcturus, its quantum metamaterials no longer hiding its true nature. Alongside it floated ships of every species, former slaves and masters, now working together to patrol trade routes and protect the peace they had all fought to achieve. In the ship's quantum archives, the full story of humanity's deception was being recorded. How Earth had discovered faster than light travel decades before revealing it to the galaxy. How they had hidden their true capabilities not out of fear, but strategy. How they had spent years mapping the Confederation's weaknesses while appearing to submit to its rule. But more importantly, they recorded what came after. The birth of the Concordat. The flowering of art, science, and culture as species freed themselves from artificial constraints. The gradual healing of ancient wounds as former oppressors and oppressed learned to work together as equals. Chen stood at the chamber's center, surrounded by representatives of 100 species. Let history record that this was not just humanity's victory. Every species here played a part in their own liberation. We simply provided the opportunity. The quantum AI systems that had helped coordinate the revolution were being opened to all species, their capabilities shared rather than hoarded. The shipyards that had built Earth's hidden fleet now produced vessels for any species that needed them. The knowledge that humanity had accumulated was freely given to all. As the assembly concluded, Chen looked out over the changed galaxy. The Confederation's fall had not led to chaos, as many had feared. Instead, it had released a wave of creativity, innovation, and cooperation that was transforming known space. Humanity had hidden its light not to deceive, but to illuminate a better path forward. They had pretended weakness not to trick their oppressors, but to understand and dismantle the very system of oppression itself. The long deception was over. The chains were broken, and in their place grew something new. A galaxy where every species could reach for the stars not in competition, but in concert. A new dawn had truly begun.